12 to 14 hours a day in the lab. We spend hours in tissue culture just splitting cells, growing vectors, purifying them, and testing them in tissue culture. Those moments are extremely boring, and I would have to say that there's been a few times when I actually almost fell asleep in tissue culture. And it's quite funny. There's this glass shield in front of you that protects you from contaminating your samples. So quite often I find myself hitting my head on a glass and actually waking up from the moment of hitting, from the motion or the sound. But that's because of the repetitive motion that you just split the cell. You do the same thing for 2-3 hours. At the end of the day when you're tired.
If something works in a cell line, then we move forward to primary cells. These are cells taken from patients. Later on, we have to check the toxicity and efficiency in live animals, usually mouse at first, but this is not always sufficient. So at least some of these protocols have to go into larger animals, such as dogs and even monkeys. And only when efficacy and safety has been proven in these animals can it move forward to clinical trials. And this takes many, many years.
I'm at home. It's not that I haven't kind of tuned off of what I'm doing at work. I'm continually reading papers or analyzing data as it's coming in.
For my son, I really feel sorry for him because I couldn't really stay with him for a long time as a mom. I usually work like at least 10 hours a day. Sometimes have to be 12 hours, 13 hours, and I have to come here all the weekend days. But I think every day when I reach home, I still try to spend all of my available time with my son.
You can get kind of brief satisfactions of getting a paper published or getting a grant or a scholarship that's awarded to you. And those are those little cookies that people feed you that you really feel great about for a very short period of time. In academia and in science in general, the broader satisfaction that you're going to gain is from teaching others and really inspiring others to be interested in research, to understand what you're doing, to be able to communicate to either people that are not in science or people that are working their way up.
I really enjoy doing research. I like to face challenges, like to face those difficulties in research, and I would really enjoy it if I can use my own way to solve the problem. I really enjoy the procedure of that, and also if I can get some good result and finally the winner of facing the challenge, I will be really excited.
The thing I enjoy the most, and I think is unique to work in science, is that I'm being paid for thinking. I'm being paid to do whatever I think is interesting and whatever I think is promising. If I believe in something, I can work hard for many years believing it would work, and I'm sure it would work. Not all the projects, certainly, but enough of them to bring good both to the general population and to my career.
If one of my experiments, big experiments, succeeds, and I can see that this now potentially can go into clinic in some way, or I see that somebody can use the results of this experiment to actually help someone in the future, that is those little moments, those few moments in life that actually make me happy. Sometimes you do experiment and for a few weeks nothing works and it gets really, really depressing, and then you get into this good kind of stretch and then everything works for next few weeks, and then again for some unknown reason everything stops working.
The excitement of science and the downturns of science sometimes are kind of a lot like climbing a mountain and going up and down these hills and valleys. You always think that you're going to reach the peak, and then when you get to the top there's either another peak ahead of it or you're collapsed right back down to where you started from. Sometimes when you're hiking, that's the last thing you want to do is when you get to the top of a certain ridge that you have to climb all the way back down to the valley to your starting point before you can get back to the ultimate goal, to that peak that you want to get to.